In order to access Facebook Audience Insights tools, we first need to have a Facebook page. Now, a Facebook page is different to a Facebook profile. A profile is what you have as an individual. The majority of you probably already have one. Whether or not you use it isn't that important. If you don't, you can set up a new Facebook profile just by heading to facebook.com, giving an email address or a telephone number, and you'll be able to set something up. Once you are in, we are going to need to create a page. Now, this is a bit different. The majority of people will not have a page. A page is an outward-facing business or community, or potentially an individual who acts as a business. They create a space, a page on Facebook, which people can access, and it's different to a profile. Because you have to create it yourself, and it has greater access to Facebook's advertising and marketing tools. So we're going to jump in. So I'm in my Facebook profile. That's my personal profile. I'm going to go ahead to here on the left hand side, pages. If you can't see it for whatever reason, you can just go to facebook.com/pages. That will get you there too. We're going to ignore all of this, and what we're going to do is come over to here on the top right, and there's create page. Now, right now, we're not going to be creating the page for use with our audience or our tribe. We'll get to that later. Right now, we just need to have a page so that we can access Facebook Audience Insights, which is the market research tool. It's free. The market research tool that we're going to be using to work out the viability of our particular niche market. So it's going to ask you a few questions. You do need to go through all of this in order to create the page. We don't necessarily know what our page for the business will be, so it doesn't entirely matter at this point. If you do have an idea of where your business is going, then go ahead and kind of try to fill in these questions. If not, you can come back later and either change details or create a whole new page. You can have as many pages as you want. So right now, this is just a dummy page. So let's say I'm going to do a business. I'm going to give a name, my new business by Kyle. I'll have to give it a category, so I'm going to say I don't know, marketing agency. There we go. It's going to ask me for a bunch of things. Can I skip this? I cannot. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3. My street, London. SW2 5EE, phone number optional, continue. So again, this is all dummy details, unless you want to go ahead and start creating your page now, in which case you can put the right things in. Then it's going to ask me to start branding it, so adding a profile picture, skip. You can come back and do it later if you want to. Add a cover photo, skip. And then that should be it. I've now got a page. Here we go. There's a placeholder here. There's a placeholder here. My new business, etc. So this is my page. Okay, now that we have a page, we have access to Facebook's business tools, their marketing tools. So there are various ways to access this. We're going to stick with the simplest way. So click here on Ad Center. Then we're in a very simplified version of the ad interface now. I'll show you more in depth later, but right now we're just using it to work out the rough size of a particular market. So I'm going to click Create Promotion here. I'm going to click Promote Your Page. This may look different by the time you're working on this, because Facebook changes its interface so often. That said, it should all be in a similar configuration. We basically want to create an advert and a paid promotion advert. You should be able to find it in here, but just a heads up in case it doesn't look exactly like what you're seeing here. This is now what my advert will look like. I'm going to skip this because I'm not actually running an advert. So I'm going to scroll down here to Audience. And then in Audience here, I'm going to click Create New Audience. And this is now what I actually want at this point. So this is a name for my audience, not important because I'm not going to be saving this. What I'm interested in here is this. this is detailed targeting. This gives me access to Facebook interests. And you can see at the bottom, at the moment I'm targeting 5 million people, i.e. these are the Facebook users in London, England, between 18 and 65, both male and female. And that gives me 5 million people. What I'm going to be trying to do is add in variables to bring this to 1 million, which is about the size of the audience that we want to be targeting, as per the previous video on niche selection. So before we talked about yoga, so let's go ahead with that example. I've removed the geographic constraint for now. What I'm going to do is put in yoga, and you can see Facebook throws up a whole bunch of suggestions. So I'll click yoga. I can actually get more suggestions by clicking here, and it's going to give me even wider suggestions. So yoga, okay, so it needs a location, so I'm going to put it in the UK for now. So yoga in the UK is 8 million people, which is too many. That's too large a market. If I enter that market, I'll be up against people like, well, some of them might be here. No, I'm not seeing them, but I'll be up against some large brands like Lululemon, and I can't think of any off the top of my head, but yoga studios, yoga clothing manufacturers, for example. So that's 8 million. That's going to be too many. So remember we talked about pregnancy yoga before. I might actually be able to target that directly, and that looks like no. Let's try pregnant yoga. Yoga for... Okay, so it doesn't look like I can target that directly, which is fine, because now what we're going to do is add in other interests which allow me to hone in on this particular demographic. So first of all, female, most likely, almost certainly. I'm also going to restrict my age. Now this will be depending on your particular market. It would be depending on your particular market, but in this case we can also restrict, gosh, let's go for there. So that's already dropped it to 3.5 million. Now what I'm going to do is narrow audience. So this allows me to use exclusionary targeting. Again, once you're in here, you can just play around and you'll be able to see this number go up and down, up and down. So, sorry, that was include. So I can either exclude people. So I'm saying you must be into yoga, but you must not like CrossFit, for example. So I could do this. So this is an exclusionary audience. So this is women in the UK within a certain age range who like yoga and do not like CrossFit. And that tells me, okay, there's 2.8 million people. So that is one way to target. Or I can use narrow audience, which is what I'm going to be using now, which is, okay, females in the UK between a certain age range who like yoga and also have an interest in one of these things. I think I might be able to put, nope, if I could spell that would help. There we go, pregnancy. So there we go. These are people who like yoga, and then they have shown some interest in the topic of pregnancy online. We could be smarter and put in products that might be of interest to them, because this is quite a wide general category. It doesn't mean these people are pregnant, it just means they have an interest in it, which could mean they were previously, or they might be in the future pregnant, but not necessarily right now. So this is a bit vague, but it gives us enough to start with. So you can see we also have new parents. This is the kind of targeting that Facebook gives you. You can find people who have just had children. You can find people who've just got married, for example, people who are about to graduate. There's a lot of very refined detail in Facebook, which we can use to target audiences. And as a user of Facebook, this is not something that you would necessarily know. It's only once you come into the advertising interface that you see the power of this particular targeting method. So here we are. The Bump, I assume this is a magazine or a blog about pregnancy. Baby shower, childcare, baby shop, parental leave, midwife. So let's put in this. I'm going to take out pregnancy because it's a bit wide. So if I just have the Bump, which has 50,000 people who are interested in it, then my exclusionary audience is now, you see at the bottom there, less than 1,000 people. So this is going to be too small an audience. So I can add in things like what to expect when you're expecting, which is a book, I think. Baby shower. Okay, can you see this is starting to creep up here? Motherhood, maternity, new parents, mother care, baby center, baby shop. Birth. We'll try birth. There we go. 600,000. And then we could continue on in this way until we hit 1 million people, and that would give us quite a nicely defined market. So that would allow me to target what we were talking about previously, which was women who are pregnant and into yoga. So this is one way of constructing that. If I wanted to narrow further, remember we talked about, okay, they must have a Vauxhall car and or enjoy country music. So I'm going to put in Vauxhall car. I might just have to put in Vauxhall. Is this it? Vauxhall. So it would be this one. So there we go. There's actually 13,000 people who are potentially pregnant, who like yoga, and have a Vauxhall or an interest in Vauxhall cars. And let's put in country music. This is more than I expected. Okay, 150,000 people. So you can see now the power that these tools give you. If you had a product that was extremely specifically targeted to these people, Facebook would allow you to get to them. Pregnant yoga practitioners who have a Vauxhall car or like country music. So there's a large amount of power here. You don't need to go into this much detail. Right now, all we want to do is use the tools in order to see if there's 1 million people that we can target. We don't want it too big. So if I put in, as we did before, nope. I'm going to go to the UK again. So UK all 18 to 50, for example. We don't want a large market. So if I put in health, oh, sorry, that's the National Health Service. Let's stick to yoga. That's easier to target. So if I put in yoga, this 6.5 million audience is too big, absolutely too big. So while that might be exciting, because you can think, oh, I can sell to 6.5 million people, I can make a lot of money here, we need to bring that down. And at the same time, an audience of country music loving pregnant women practicing yoga is too small, and we need to bring that up. And we need to find this kind of sweet spot around 1 million people in which we can start to form our market. So let's do another example quickly. So let's try property investment. So property investment. So this is going to be extremely specific, but what we're then going to do is click on suggestions, because property investment might not be the way Facebook necessarily classifies this interest. I think it's going to be real estate investing. There we go, because American language is used a lot more on Facebook. So they're still in the UK. You can see the geographic targeting here. But even so, the majority of people are using the terminology real estate investment instead of property investment, which is fine. Property as an interest, I would say, is too wide. That it's a bit like health or money. It's just too big. The reasons for that showing up in Facebook could be they own a property, or they watch Homes Under the Hammer on BBC, for example, and that's kind of led them into this particular interest group. So instead we want things like this: real estate investment associations. This is if we're targeting people we want to invest in our property. Property investment club sounds good. Creative real estate investing sounds good. And we would just go ahead like this: real estate entrepreneur, real estate investment club. So I'm not getting a huge amount here, 140,000. Let me push this up to people. I'm getting rid of the age. Okay, that didn't do much. But you can see, let's try putting in property, see what happens. Yeah, so that goes too big if I add property. So again, I'm going to remove that. House hunting, property finder, first time buyer, real estate development. There we go. That's better. So real estate development, I'm being told here, okay, there's 39 million people who are interested in this online on Facebook. And that's allowed me to push this UK market up to 860,000. So I'm getting much closer to that 1 million. Property finder, real estate broker, first time buyer. Investment's going to be too wide. Investor, starter home investment strategy. And this is very much an art as well as a science. Buy-to-let. There we go. There we go. 1.2 million. So I might actually remove a handful, but this is now showing me potential ways into this market. So if I go too wide to housing, that's not going to work. If I do investment, that's probably too wide. If I do property, that's too wide. If I focus my business around these kind of topics, so buy-to-let, creative real estate investment, real estate development, then there is a market for me here on Facebook. So not too big, not too small. So art as well as the science comes from being able to plug in specific terms here, or get it through suggestions and be given the exact information of how many people are into this in a particular area. The art of it comes from going through these lists and deciding what is and isn't relevant, which is something you kind of get better at as you play around with the tools. For now though, all we're trying to do is hit that 1 million sweet spot. So take the two lists you have from previously, the things that you like and the things that you're good at. Remember, I said to pick out 2 or 3 areas within that where there's an intersection between what you're good at and what you like doing. And then we're going to bring them in here and plug them into audience insights in order to work out where we can build a market of around 1 million people. So we talked about accountancy before. So, in that case, we don't want, if we are an accountant and we want to provide accountancy services to people, and we're building an online business around that, we don't want to find other accountants. So if the interest is accountant, and their job title is here, staff accountant, tax accountant, fund accountant, you can see these are job titles. These are not necessarily going to be our customers because these people are already accountants, and maybe we're looking for people who need help with their accountants. So instead we might be looking for small business owners. So there we go, small business owners. That is, wow, that was easy. 600,000. So let's see what else I could do. Business owner, job title, 600,000. Owner and founder, that would suggest it's a smaller company. Founder, small business. 600,000. Small. I clicked the wrong one there. I imagine self-employed is going to be too big, but let's try. Oh no. Okay, so again, we'd go about it in this way, trying to work out if there's enough people to support the type of business we're going to be providing further down the line. If I was an accountant looking at this, I'd be quite confident that I can reach that 1 million, and that's not going to be a problem. And I'm also not seeing that that market is 20 million people, which would be too large. to deal with. So I can use this to kind of hone in on the kind of people that I'm going to be targeting later. This is going to be totally different depending on what your interests and what you're good at came out as. So we are here to help as well, so you can actually drop comments and I'll be able to help you jump into this tool. I do recommend though that you kind of get your hands dirty in there as well, because it shows you the power of Facebook and what kind of targeting granularity you can achieve. And it also might spark ideas. You might be looking through the suggestions here and think, oh yes, I could aim this directly at founder directors or whatever it is. So it's good for you as the expert in this particular area to go in and start digging around yourself. Okay, so the goal of this particular lesson is for you to have found, based on your lists of what you like doing and what you're good at doing, based on those intersections, we're going to come in here and find a market of about 1 million people. Once we've done that, we can move on to the next stages where we're going to be just checking that market. I'm going to be taking you through a few kind of sense checks in order to see whether this is a market you should be entering or not. And then by the end of these sense checks, you'll get a yay or nay, and we can push ahead into audience creation. So thanks for bearing with me at the moment. The reason we're doing this is to lay down the groundwork to make sure the market actually exists, to make sure that you're entering a market that you're interested in, and that you're equipped with the skills and the ability to actually operate within this market. So it does seem like a lot of groundwork starting up. You might be chomping at the bit, thinking, well, when can I get on and start advertising? When can I start on, generating cash? We need to lock down these basics first, and it's going to save you a lot of time later, a lot of heartache, and a lot of budget in advertising. So bear with me. We'll lock down a good looking market, and then we'll be able to move on rapidly to the exciting stuff. So, thank you.